Alright, good morning everybody. Today we're going to do a little bit of Shade's lore, introducing the Shade as a concept, where it comes from, and what this world is all about. But, before we get into that, we have some exciting news. We have the Twitter account. It is now restored to full functionality. They thought that we were being bad boys, but we turned out to be good boys. So thank you to everyone who gave me a follow on Twitter so that we could convince them not to, initiate the ban hammer. But, so that was a success, a miraculous success, and I thank all of you for helping me with that. We will be beginning shenanigans effective immediately as soon as this video is uploaded. We will be putting in Shades of Dominion art on the Twitter, and the link for the profile will be in the description of this video. Now, on to the Shade. So, we have the introduction of the Shade, which is as follows. The Shades of Dominion. Long ago, in the fallen realms of Dominion, magic once flowed freely, and there arose many mages, kings, and priests. The magic was so powerful that some even became as gods, able to create and destroy on a whim. This should be sounding familiar to anyone familiar with Magic the Gathering. And as with such great power, there came great calamity. War broke out across all the realms. This was a war of words, violence, deception, and ideas. Innocents were slaughtered, lands were defiled, worlds were destroyed, and even time became broken and fragmented, and soon even those timelines were corrupted with the same pain and intrigue. And when annihilation came at the very door for all creation, magic suddenly died. All the gods were destroyed in but a moment, and there was a great silence in all the realms. And in the silence, the realms came to a peace and delegated in good faith, and then, a few short centuries later, they all came together with a disturbing report. A new force called the Shade had been found in all the realms. The Shade is not magic. Where magic once offered boundless power and magnified its wielder, the Shade instead corrupts and polarizes. Magic was unlimited, whereas the Shade is clearly finite. Wherever the Shade is used, the world dims and fades and then crumbles. Those who use it slowly become caricatures of themselves. A passionate paramour tries to bring back their beloved from the grave, only to become a cold leech. The revolutionary trying to free their people becomes a bloodthirsty sadist. The truth seeker becomes an encyclopedic automaton in the flesh. And the righteous man becomes the executioner of the very letter of the law, oppressing mercilessly those he once saw as oppressed. But when it comes to the Shade, that's only half the story. And we're going to get to half the story in just a moment. And in this next part, we see this section of the rulebook called the Shade Master. And in this portion of the rulebook, it reads, when the realms were about to face annihilation, magic did not die. But seeing the horror it had unleashed, it awakened as magic as one, and simply withdrew into the void. And there began to mutate and grow voracious and barbed. Never again would it be used by the whims of mortals or beasts. Now, as the Shade, it would determine who lived and who died. The Shade would be the very life force of worlds. No more would magic be used. The Shade will pull the strings of any and all who dare to claim it. Let mortals come and drink deeply from the power of life and death, natural and artifice, destruction and creation, order and chaos, and be enslaved by it. And thus the Shade was born, rooting itself into the lives, destinies, and fates of all living things. You, as the Shade Master, play the Shade in this game. Your goal and agenda is to maintain control and balance in the realms. You do this by manipulating the player characters into adventures and quests, prodding them with their desires, and outright forcing them with their Shade afflictions. Such is the price of the Shade. And that is the lore and backdrop of the Shades of Dominion. It's the most dystopian interpretation and possibility of the endgame of the Magic the Gathering universe. This is Magic itself saying, no, bitches, I own you now. That is the Shade. And as the Shade mages use the Shade, again, they are killing the worlds that they're on. But that's just the world you get to live in. You get to manage how evil, immoral, or just it is for you to be a shade mage and how you interact in this world and as you draw the shade and cast your spells. This is your problem. And it's a fantastic scenario to throw people into this dystopian high fantasy. And that's it. That is the shade, ladies and gentlemen. As always, go out today and throw some shade. Bye-bye.